everybody. As several of you probably already know, per my latest community post, I'm in the hospital right now. I was able to get out of my hospital gown for just a little bit. They are allowing me to put on some of my own comfortable clothes. I was able to freshen up a little bit so I look a little more presentable to you guys. Check out my community post for information on why I'm in the hospital. And I have been resting a lot. I've been trying to process everything that's going on. And I'm thankfully have my laptop with me and my phone, though the audio and the video won't be your usual backdrop or sound quality, so I hope you can still hear me okay. I was debating creating some content while I'm here, for one, because I want to keep you guys up to date. I really cherish this community. Your comments have been beyond kind and encouraging, but it also gives me something to do, so don't worry if you're like, why the heck is she recording a video in the hospital? She should be resting. I just had a good nap and some lunch. I'm on bed rest, so there's not much that I can do. So it actually allows me to be creative, and it actually helps me to not just be here and say, watch TV all day. I have a good book I'm working on called The Body Keeps the Score by Dr. Van der Kolk, and different things that I can do. But creating, connecting with you guys is one of the things that brings me joy. I'm trying to take this time to process and ponder and think and just try to be present and be okay with being out of control, and that's hard. I'm gonna watch something from my hospital bed. There's a song that was put out a few days ago, Richmond, north of Richmond. Oliver Anthony put that out 10 days ago, 24 million views, I think. And naturally, the world is already talking about it, it going viral, being a huge hit. Obviously, there's already platforms that are gonna try to politicize it. I'm just interested in reading it or listening because I would like to hear what he has to say, because many people are talking about it here in America. And so when I saw the comment that he speaks for so many Americans, and dare I say many people around the world, because I think internationally people are agreeing or enjoying what he's saying. So I thought, why not come from a place that many people know, a hospital bed, I feel, being the symbol of health, the symbol of vulnerability, a place of where people are in need, a place where there is money involved, right? The pharmaceutical world and the medical system. We won't go into all of that, but there's a whole world when it comes to that too. So
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, the rich men.
let me just pause here real quick and share just my first impression. It's neat that it has the bluegrass country vibe. I think we talk about this when it comes to music and psychology. The type of genre you use to convey messages makes a big difference, right? If he were to have done this as a heavy metal song, many people would have not listened from the get-go, right? Because I think metal music is often either misunderstood or not appreciated, because unless you dive in and explore it, how it's so connected to classical music and many other things, if it's not your genre, you might stay away from it, right? The emotions that screaming or heavy rock evokes that may cause more aggression or excitement to some people may distort the message of the song, right? Or if you have come in with some rap song, many people may have not listened to that because they may not listen to rap music, or it gets lost because we're distracted by a cool beat. To choose a genre, to have such a song in the genre of country and bluegrass, the very stripped down, broken down vibe, him there in the forest with his little camper chair and the dogs laying around, and his guitar, the banjo sounds, it allows you to really focus on the lyrics and on the vocal performance. But psychologically, I think it allows to be relatable to many people, especially here in America. Many people who love country of all colors and races and nationalities. Even within America, it's like that American music, right? That many associate with, right? Driving in your truck, going through the 9 to 5s, living your life, right? Granted, there's plenty of people that don't even like country, won't listen to it, but it still is a little bit of that staple music, maybe even to the rest of the world, right? America, country music. Just like in Germany, we have Schlager, right? The older generation, that's like the classics, or the polka music, or different sounds we associate with different countries. And I think this is one of those sounds many would probably associate with America to a degree. So singing about the American plight, I guess, is interesting. And also to call it Richmond, north of Richmond. Richmond is in Virginia, and if you go north of Richmond, as he's singing in his song, it sounds to me like he's referring to the rich people north of there in Washington, D.C., the politicians, the government. And I see an article that says the hit song that has divided the U.S. I don't know why they would say that. So far, I'm just seeing a song that talks about the American people struggling and those decisions that are being made, and the dollar, the worth of the dollar, right? Where many people are struggling financially. Inflation, gas prices have gone up, grocery prices. And that's been happening around the world. That's not just, specific to America. But, I would be curious to see why they say that it has divided the U.S. This could just be more propaganda, trying to create more traffic for the song, trying to just, polarize people, make it a you versus me, for or against thing. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but so far it sounds to me like he's addressing the plight that many people are feeling, when they're struggling financially and they're trying to make it through the day, and then they go home to drown out their fears. His voice is neat. I like the rasp in his voice. Sounds like he has a great range. It's very raw. It's stripped down. It's simple, right? The focus is not some type of crazy vocal performance with crazy runs and abilities, but it's a strong, raspy voice fitting to this bluegrass and country vibe. And a biggest focus on the lyrics, I would say. Let's keep listening.
I wish politicians would look out for minors, and not just minors on an island somewhere.
Ooh, that's an Epstein reference, isn't it? That list that people have been waiting to be disclosed, right? When it comes to minor trafficking and stuff. Generally looking out for minors, as in caring for the children. And that could be seen as, is he referring to the whole trans debates right now, right, in regards to what kids should or shouldn't be allowed to do, how parents should be held accountable or not. Could this be a reference to a lot of the human trafficking and this epidemic of abuse that's going on? Could it be a reference to abortion, right? There's a lot of topics when it comes to the trans community, abortion, sex trafficking, human trafficking, where people would be divided and argue, and I think a lot of times it's a distraction. We're distracted, right? Those who are pulling the strings are having us fight and argue, but we're not doing anything to change it, right? We can talk all day. So I think that's an interesting way to word that, because it leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the whole beast milking welfare. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground, 'cause all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Lord, it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me, people like you. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is.
Okay, here we're going now from what I felt like he's representing the American plight, if you will, to now making it a global thing. What does the world come to? So there's this element of it can be relatable now to anybody.
Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men know the Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control.
The phrase living in the new world with an old soul, to me, the new world to me refers to America. America is a young country, but it's also referred to as the new world when, Europeans came over trying to start a new life in the new world, right? But also this idea of these things that are happening, that changes that are happening in real time, the new world, right? Things that are being done to, where new things are occurring. But when you're an old soul, you may be one of those people that want to go back to a different time, or that are thinking about these meaningful things. You know, the old souls among us that want to have profound conversations, that remember days of old, that still value certain things and are not just being swayed by whatever's the latest, hippest, and hypest, right? A generation that wants to still have substance beyond just the swoolture, as I call it, the swipe culture and what's hip and what's trendy. There's different ways we can take that, but that too is a really well worded lyric.
Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and then I don't think you know, but I know that you do, 'cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end, 'cause the rich men, north of Richmond.
Your dollar's being taxed to no end, right? That plight of you're hustling, you're working, then you got to give a bunch of it up to the government, right? These things that are being done, these rules that are being changed, they want control. They want to know everything you do. They want to control you, right? They think you don't know, but you know. And I think that's true for many people. Of course, plenty will talk about it online and amongst each other in their circles of friends and families, but a lot of times we don't stand up and do anything about it. And we know, you know, I know, we know, you know, that everyone is going through something. It's a catchy hook too.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay.
That's good. Very stripped down song when it comes to the style. Like I said, even the genre plays a difference, makes a difference. Let me slide up here a little bit. Where do I begin? Okay, so the genre makes a difference. I think the genre really allows for the lyrics and the vocals to be the focus, right? If it was heavy metal, rap, those type of things, like I said, psychologically they would affect many wouldn't even listen from the get-go, or it would be we would be distracted by a focus on great instrumentation, vocal runs, the beat. But here it's simple, it's stripped down. Some guy somewhere in his backyard maybe with his dogs around him and his camping chair. Very back to the basics. But the lyrics, I think, are the biggest focus here. And as I mentioned already, the Richmond, north of Richmond, referring to the Washington, D.C., I would say, and talking about all the corruption in the government. So articles that are talking about the song that has divided the U.S. makes no sense to me, to be honest with you, just as from the get-go. Maybe I'm missing something, because I know that there's references in there when it speaks about obesity and the minors, where I could see certain people trying to take it somewhere, right? Because it leaves interpretation. Of course, you know, some people may say, oh, you know, is this referring to abortion, right? And now people are going to start fighting about pro-choice or pro-life. Or people say, oh, is he trying to throw a hint at the whole transgender debates when it comes to gender transformation among minors, right? And people could start arguing about that. But because to me the lyrics weren't precise, I don't feel like there's a need to fight about that. I think that we would be stupid if we take that now and just say, oh, you know, he's saying this or the other, right? That's what the media will do. They will turn things around. They will flip things in a way that is in favor of their agenda or what they're trying to say. We all tend to do it if we're not careful. That's why there's millions of different sects and cults even within one religion. Because people will take verses, people will take things, and they will create a whole separate branch. And so, now I sounded all American and Southern. But yeah, I think if we don't practice emotional intelligence and we try to be unbiased, sure, we could take certain things and then branch off of that and start arguing. But that would be a distraction, in my opinion. What is he really trying to say, I think, is the ultimate question. The verse that he starts with and ends with is, I'm selling my soul, working all day. And that fits very much to the country vibe, right? This is not a new song in the sense of, I can't believe he said all this. There's plenty of songs where people address the plight of people. There's plenty of songs where people call out corrupt governments, where people address what's really going on in the world. The phrase, selling my soul, right? That's not new. It's fitting to the music genre. This is not new in the sense of, oh, I can't believe he said that. Wow, right? But people are tired. People are hungry. And so they're going to see this and say, oh, yes, me too. And then you have the media that can add and feed to that. The algorithms feed the song. Now it has millions of views. Now you have news channels saying, oh, this song is going viral and dividing the country. And now everybody and their mama wants to know about it, and we're going to react to it. That's just, it's just another topic. The question at the end of the day that needs to be asked is, what are we going to do about it? And before I first listened, I had my thoughts. I've been a single mom. Now I'm married, I have children, right? I'm in a hospital. I know that there's a lot of money behind the whole medical world. People who get stuck with crazy bills, and those things are very scary, and I've been there. I'm in the hospital in real time, right? God knows what's still ahead. So I've been on both sides of both needing support as a single mother, food stamps, support from the government welfare, Medicaid. I've been on the other side of paying my taxes diligently, working hard, living paycheck to paycheck. I've tasted some of the benefits of capitalism, trying to build your own business and trying to market yourself. I've tasted some of the possibilities when you're willing to say no, right? It's really not so black and white. You have those who will complain and say, oh, I'm not getting paid enough, right? But then they're spending their money on silly things, and they're going out to drink coffee all the time and eat out and buy the latest cell phones instead of practicing delayed gratification and saying no, and make better choices with money. My husband has taught me a lot in that regard. Then that's one side of the coin, right? Where it takes sacrifice and wisdom to say, you know what, I'd rather save up to buy an asset like a land or a home. I'm not just going to buy it on stuff. But then the flip side of that is that there's plenty of people who don't even have that type of money to go eat out and go to the mall. They're just barely making by, and they are struggling. And the second they make a little bit more, now they don't qualify for support, and they're back to having to fight on their own. So there's a million things in between, right? I said that in my community post a while ago. There's these two extremes and a million shades of purple in between, right? Where we'll naturally gravitate towards one or the other side based on our experience. But it's important to keep in mind it's both and, right? There's value in being able to capitalize on certain things. Most people want to do it, even those who are against capitalism. The second they can make some money off of something they've created or done, they'll go for it, right? They'll not just sit back and go, oh, no, I'm going to share it with everybody. It's okay. But then you have the flip side of that, where we can't just abandon and neglect those who are hurting and in need. And it's tricky because some will abuse the system and they don't care. And they will be fine with living off of other tax dollars and off of other people working hard and paying taxes. But then there's also those who genuinely need help. You have the same thing among capitalism. People who are genuinely just trying to provide for their family, who are learning the system, educating themselves, YouTubing things, learning how to get into real estate, learning how to be smarter with money, learning tax laws and what to do and how the rich men north of Richmond operate. You have comedians talking about it.
Ever seen a white male billionaire screaming at the top of his lungs, "This whole system is rigged," he said. And across the stage was a white woman, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, sitting over there looking at him like, "No, it's not." I said, "Now, wait a minute, bro." Well, Mr. Trump, if in fact the system is rigged, what would be your evidence? He said, "I know the system is rigged because I use it." I said, God damn.
Then you also have those who are corrupt, who are greedy and just want to use capitalism to bleed the system dry, right? You have a whole shade of different possibilities in between, because every man's heart is different and we don't know man's heart. Sometimes we don't even fully know our own. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true. And I think here this phrase, I also think taps into, like I said earlier, more of a global perspective, and many people commenting from other countries, they know they're going through it too. This is happening in countries in Europe. I just saw a post from in Germany about changes that are possibly happening and people's frustrations when it comes to political elections and things that are being done. It's a global thing in some countries more than in others, right? Where people will argue all day and night about, should it be more capitalistic? Should it be more socialistic? Do we need more of this? Do we need more of that? And at the end of the day, any extreme brings us full circle back around. A friend of mine reminded me of that horseshoe concept, where you can go so far to the other side that you're basically back to the start. I think that taps into our existential fears too, right? The new world and the old soul concept reminds me of this idea of that battle, even amongst generations of old people going, we got to get back to that the way it was, right? This world is going to trash. Thank God that we still have people that were born in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, we need to listen and learn from them. And you have the young generation saying, no, we need to make change. And ultimately, both are looking for a way to preserve their legacy, to make meaning of this life. It's tricky because some people create their own plight. Some people could have a better plight and situation if they made better choices. And they have to take responsibility. But then there's also those who are really trying their dang hardest and they need help. You see what I'm saying? It's not so easy to solve. Living in the new world with an old soul. These Richmond, north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. And in verse 2, it then says, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. And I could see that people would get upset at this, right? Like, oh, what are you shaming, why body shaming or shaming people overweight? But I think what he's trying to say here is you have people that are choosing a healthy lifestyle. They shouldn't be able to live off the government, where then the regular person has to work even harder to provide for their family and pay taxes that now feed that person that's choosing a bad lifestyle. And I think there's a validity to that, but that too is a case by case. You have people that are overweight because of medical issues, that are bound to a hospital bed, that are hurting, who are not just out there maliciously saying, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and get fat and not care, and the rest of you guys can go to work and pay taxes so that I can get help from the government. There's people out there genuinely hurting and ashamed and suffering. But there's also the flip side of those who really don't care, genuinely, who want to just live their life. They have no shame in getting the help. And there's ways to eat healthy. Like even that concept of, if you're poor, then you can't afford anything. I've lived off of, I've depended on WIC and food stamps and different things. And they would offer markets where you can get fresh fruit and vegetables for free from the government. So there's ways, but of course you got to educate yourself. And I think now with iPhones and Google and technology, there's no more excuse to say, well, we don't know, right? It just is a matter of saying, okay, who can I ask? Where can I find resources? I need help. And it's humbling. But I think because we humans tend to categorize, because it makes us feel more in control, it gives us a level of comfort, we'll group people in and we'll see somebody and say, ooh, you may be fat for this or that reason, they're just eating their fudge rounds and I'm not going to pay for them to depend on the government. But we don't know people's stories, and that's where the internet, I think, makes things worse, because it will divide and we will box people in and you'll have people screaming, don't fat shame, right? These people are hurting. And we need those compassionate ones too, who say, hey, these people are hurting, they're depressed, they're isolated, they're struggling. But there's also those who are not willing to make any changes, and they have to take responsibility for their choices. It's really just two extremes and a million shades of purple in between. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground because all this dang country does is keep on kicking them down. Or even the miner, right, the island somewhere. I think that was an Epstein reference. Folks in the street ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milk and welfare. I could see that being the biggest part about why some would claim it's dividing the nation, because of what he's saying about the miners and the obese. And I could see people thinking he's shaming fat people or making this a thing about minors, regardless of where we want to take that. I have a feeling everybody's going to turn that based on what they already think, because that's often what we do. We have a mindset already, and then we look for things and we listen through that lens, and we say, see, we're all doomed, or see, it's another man crying, wolf, or ooh, see, the government is all corrupt. I think there is a lot of corruption in the system, absolutely. And we can talk about it on social media all day, but what are we going to do about it, I think it's good that there's so many different types of people, right? Those who really want to care for those in need, those who are working hard to build empires. I think we need both. As a society, we'd be doomed if we didn't have the warriors and we didn't have the people who know the system and know how to pioneer forward to build an empire for themselves and their families. But we'd also be doomed if there wasn't those who cared about welfare and cared about people in need. We'd be doomed if we didn't have people who say, hey, let's not just judge and box everybody in. There's people hurting here. I think an important thing is to come to the table and have a conversation about it. I think Ren posted something. I didn't read the full community post yet, but I think it was an encouragement to have those hard conversations where we actually hear one another out and try to understand what has brought us to that place of that conclusion. And I would even add to be willing to add to our conclusions. We sometimes come to a conclusion, we shut the door, and then we just focus on whatever else we want to hear that will confirm our bias, right? And the social media will do that. They will add to that. The algorithms will feed you what you've been listening to, so you'll naturally be fed more of the same stuff. and it's harder to get challenged. I've said that recently on other videos. In relationship is where we are refined. In personal relationships, conversations, arguments with a spouse, family member, roommate, a loved one, conversations where we break through. Maybe we have to walk away to cool down, but we come back together, we talk about it. That's how you grow. On social media and in the world, that's not happening. We're not growing. We can spew our opinion and we move on, or people will make us mad. But how many of us sit down and go, why did that person trigger me? Why did their comment make me so mad? What is going on inside of me? How many of us go and sit down and say, hey, can we talk about this? That hurt my feelings. This made me sad. No, we're quick to label and say, oh, they're toxic and they're narcissistic and they're this and they're that. Or we feel small and ashamed and hide in our own little world. Oh, I'm not good enough. I don't know anything. I'm a fraud, right? Instead of having a conversation where we lift one another up and say, hey, what do you think? What do I think? Why did we get here? And be willing to be wrong, or at least to modify our opinions to a degree. Not that there's no wrong or right. Don't misunderstand me. There are a million shades of purple in between. That doesn't mean that there's not a time to take a stand, that there's no wrong or right. And it's all just always both and. I know I emphasize that in many videos, that a lot of topics are both and, not just this or that. But it's complicated. It is not. There's no easy fix. It's not just. It's hard because there is wrong or right. There are things that are not okay. Things we have to stand up for and fight and say enough is enough. But I think my takeaway from this would be, well, what are we going to do about it? What do you think? Comment below. Let me know. A very different setting today. I know I'm out of breath, but I hope you know you're loved and you matter. Thank you so much for your support. It's in this season. It's a season of uncertainty for me. I'm not going to give up or be discouraged. I don't know what lies ahead when it comes to my health, the baby's health, the family care, financial and medical things. There's a lot of things that are up in the air, but I have faith. I'm going to keep working hard, and I'm not giving up. I would encourage you to do the same, to keep choosing life. I hope you know you guys are really loved. I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next ride, whenever that is. Ayo! Ayo!